Disclaimer.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily the views of Tash, Becky, or Be Your Best You podcast.
Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes, and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up, and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this.
Hi! Welcome back to another episode of Be Your Best You with Tash.
And Becky, the guest edition, and today we're talking to Jo Smith.
Jo is a Galactic channel.
Yeah.
What is that, you asked? I'll listen to the episode to find out.
Yeah.
But Jo has a super interesting story because she actually spent 25 years in the police force. And she's now working as a Galactic channel.
Awesome.
And she channels through galactic frequencies to help people with their shadow work, help activate gifts, release the sticky stuff in their energy fields that are keeping us from remembering who we truly are, being our true selves, and stepping into our true purpose so we can get out there in the world and do the things that we came here to do.
Thank you. Amazing.
Enjoy, guys.
Hey guys, can we ask you a favour?
Can we ask, if you haven't already, please make sure that you're following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you can get updated with all the latest episodes every week when they come out. You never know, it might just be the thing that you need to hear at that time. Also, don't forget you can watch us on YouTube, so make sure you head over there and subscribe to us there.
And share with all your friends.
Thanks, guys. And today we have on the show Jo. Jo, welcome.
Hi, Jo.
Hello, I'm very excited and happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank
We're
you
very
for coming.
excited too.
We are. So, before we crack on, Jo, could you just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what it is that you are currently doing in the world?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Jo Smith. You can find me on my social media as Jo the Channel. I spent 25 years working in the police and retired as a senior police detective earlier this year, and now I am a Galactic channel.
Awesome.
Wow.
What an intro.
What an intro.
So, Jo, can you tell people, what does being a Galactic channel involve? And then obviously we're going to want to go into your backstory, Jo, to find out how you went from the police force to doing what you're doing now. But first of all, one thing's first, I'm getting excited. What does it involve being a Galactic channel?
Yeah, sure. So I spend most of my time with one foot in two different worlds. So I am very, very grounded and embodied in what I do. So I have got 2 feet on the ground, having my human experience here, obviously, because this is ultimately what we're here for. But I've always got 1 foot in other realms. I've always got 1 foot in other dimensions. And what it means to be a Galactic channel means that my guides, my team, are from the galactic realms. I do have guides that are not galactic, and I'm sure you do. Well, everyone does. And, the spirit guides, ancestors, ascended masters, all those kind of things. I have those, but my main guidance, wisdom, and my work comes from connecting into galactic beings, extraterrestrial beings from other dimensions, both within the Milky Way here that we are aware of, that our solar system sits in, that we are in, and beyond the Milky Way. So galaxies that sit way outside of the comprehension of what we understand as humans.
Wow. Oh, that's so cool. So, you're using these kind of galactic guides to do your work. What does your actual work look like? How are you using that to help people or to do what you're doing?
I'm here to awaken millions to their soul's truth. And what that means is the remembrance, the very deep soul remembering of who you are, who we are, and all those multi-dimensional aspects that exist as part of us as humans. When our soul incarnated in this lifetime now, as we're recording this and watching this, our soul chose the suit that we're in now. It chose the life that we live now. It chose the experiences that we have. And we have been reincarnated many, many times, both as human and other types of being. And some of us have had hundreds, if not thousands, of lifetimes as humans here on Earth. And some haven't had quite as many. But we have all ultimately started our journey coming down through the dimensions from 12th dimension and beyond, all the way down to third, is what we're in now, and move through those dimensions as different versions of our soul. And our soul has moved through different dimensions of different types of light beings, of galactic beings, angelic beings, all of the things, until we come here to Earth to have our human existence, and then before we go back to move through it all again. And it's like this cycle. So the work that I do is bringing people's remembrance back to that, but it's more than that. So everything that we have ever experienced in our lifetimes here as human and beyond impact us today. And the root of a lot of the things that we experience here now, the conditioning that we've had experienced as children, and all the stuff that we experience as we grow up and adults and all through our life, the root of that has started not as human. The root of that has started as our galactic selves. So all the planets that exist, such as Arcturus, Sirius, Lyra, Andromeda, all the galactic dimensions and realities, we have parallel lifetimes running, obviously, right now. And we have our light and our dark experiences in those realms, in those dimensions. And this is the unique way that I work with people when it comes to shadow work, because shadow work, no one wakes up, do they, and say, God, I really got to sort my shadows out. We don't really do that, do we? But yeah, a lot of the stuff that comes up for us has come from places that most people can't reach, but I can. And it's not about disconnecting from it. It's about observing and witnessing it and dissolving and resolving what's playing out right now as human Tash, human Becky, human Joe, so that you can fully step into your soul's truth of who you are, why you're here, who you're here to be, and have the impact with whatever it is that you're doing right now, or what you know that you are supposed to be doing but aren't doing yet, so that you can have the impacts that you're here to have.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so from your view, when you say this, obviously, your ultimate goal is to awaken millions of people to who they truly are, and so that they can be what they're supposed to be and do what they're supposed to do. What do you believe that is, like, what they're supposed to do? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense? Yeah.
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 So ultimately, I don't believe that we all only have one sole purpose. because when I worked in the police, and we'll get to this obviously, I was working my soul purpose in that season of my life, in that chapter of my life, and it was a required journey for me to go on. I asked to go on it, had all the experiences, and now I've moved into the next purpose of my life, my next mission. And this is how I'll close out my chapter here as Human Joe. And people get very hung up on, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know, back in the day when I was doing tarot readings and when I started my journey that way, people would say to me, I want to know what my soul purpose is. What that actually means, when the way I view that is that we all have codes within us. We all hold codes, some of which are active and alive and, front facing, doing the work or whatever it is, or, being the person. And then also we've got a lot of dormant codes that lie dormant within us that holds keys to unlocking your gifts, your soul gifts, the path that your highest path. And there are many, many highest timelines. We haven't just got one. So when people say I'm on my highest timeline, well, you're on one of them. And ultimately we're here to live an abundant, a rich, wealthy, happy life full of vitality. And we're not meant to have struggle and sacrifice and all of the things that a lot of us find ourselves in. And of course, this is not to say that we're looking out on the world on rose-tinted glasses. Of course we're not. And we're here to have the full gamut of emotions and full gamut of experiences, because there's no point in being here otherwise. But our life ultimately is meant to be one of joy and abundance and vitality. And yeah, for me, that is when you found that, then you know that you're on your path. And when you're saying to yourself, I can't not do this. I can't not.
Yeah. I love that.
It's just finding it, isn't it? Unlock it. So if how do you find these codes that are laying dormant that we can unlock to find these new gifts?
Well, that's my magic, you see, because I'm coded with, I'm very, very high frequency. So, and I have done the work to be who I am today and how I deliver my work and what I do. I haven't woken up one day and said, right, that's it, I'm sorted. And it's a constant journey of evolution, of course, but I am very, very high frequency. I've got a very, very clear, pristine channel. I've done the work. I've done a shed ton of shadow. I've done the shadow work. I've walked through the fires, and as many of us have, none of us have come here to not do that, actually. But it's about understanding what that shows you as you're going through it. And as a result of who I am and now knowing who I am and what I'm here to do and who I'm being as I'm doing all of this, I know that I hold very specific coding within me. And this will just sound really strange, but obviously this entire podcast is a bit out there, but people are either gonna resonate with this or they're not.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment either way. But there'll be something when you listen to me, when you look at me, you will be activated. And because I am an activator and I'm able to see deeper and wider than anyone. And I'm not just psychic as AF. I mean, I am, but it's beyond that. I can see inside. I can see your organs. I work with I work on a very, this is about cellular level, DNA level, unraveling, unlocking, and activating those aspects of you that are already there. You don't need to go and do another course. You don't need to go and get another certification. You don't need to do all these things, searching, because it's already within. And the way to unlock that is by understanding that you're not just you, human you. You have all of these aspects of you that sit within you that are here to be brought out into the world. To get to that place, you have to go through self first. You have to do the inner work. You have to understand that, and you need to understand that everything that happened in the past doesn't define you. Everything that's, the past doesn't even really exist. The future most definitely doesn't exist. All we actually have is now, and owning every part of who we are as people, all the light that we're here to bring into the world, and all the parts of us that we sit down sometimes and think, oh my God, I wish I didn't do that. Or, oh my God, why did I just snap again? Or, the stuff that we go round in circles about who we are as people. And it can be really deep, or it can be quite, not surface level. It's not, but you know what I mean? It could be like, well, I'd really love to lose a few pounds because I've got my Christmas party dress to get into, or say that because of the time of year we're recording this. But ultimately, when there is true acceptance of who you are, all of you, every little cell, aspect, facet, decision, choice, regret, any shame, when you actually take all of that and just accept it, that it just is, and everything that is about you, the choices and the decisions that you made have brought you to where you are today, the sense of peace that you have inside is immeasurable. And at that point, you understand that you are the creator of your own reality. Nobody else and nothing else is creating that for you. The quantum field where we create, where we can connect into limitless possibilities, limitless everything. I mean, like infinite possibilities of what is actually available to us. When you truly tap into that, and you truly understand that the only thing that is stopping anybody, any of us, and I am not, I still have my moments because I'm a human and we're meant to have these moments to just keep us in check. But when you understand that the only person that is getting in your way is you, and that actually everything that you see for yourself, the vision that you have for your life, what you really desire in your heart, what you see that you want to achieve, the money you want to earn, the people you want to impact, the places you want to go, the traveling around the world, the beautiful home, the freedom, the whatever it is for you, whatever it is, it's already here now. It's right here now. It's not some distant point in the future that you need to aspire to get to, or that you need to do XYZ before ABC arrives. It's here now. If you can see it, if you can feel it, that is for you. It's yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's back to that feeling again, isn't
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
It's so,
Yeah.
that's the power, isn't it?
So I'm really keen to get into your backstory because I'm sure everybody's saying, how did you go from being in the police force to what you're doing? So Joe, can you tell us, like, were you psychic AF as a child, or is this something that kind of happened over time? Like, fill us in on how you got to being where you are now. I'm so intrigued.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I have been. So, as a child, I was really intuitive, and very sensitive, and felt very misunderstood. Felt like I didn't really fit in. Found it really hard to make friends and to kind of gel with people. Enjoyed my own company, liked being on my own, had lots of imaginary friends, and actually spoke light language up until probably the age of, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. I didn't know it was that then, of course, but now I know that, me making up foreign languages and all the things and pretending that I was from all these different countries around the world and making up languages as I was going on, I was speaking light language. It wasn't a coincidence. And so if you know a child that does that, or you did it yourself, then that is what you were doing. And of course, it becomes conditioned out of us because no one else is doing it. And then you kind of start to be more and more brought into, well, the shoulds, and this is the way it is, and human life and stuff. And very few people end up taking that and moving forwards with it at such a young age. Different now, but back then, no. I kept most of it secret about what I was interested in, but I was really obsessed with going to the library, and they used to call it the occult section back in the day. And I would go to that section of the library where all the spiritual books were, and I would, because there was no internet then, and I would literally sit for hours in the library reading different books about the paranormal, astrology, tarot. But I was really obsessed with the paranormal. I was really obsessed with things that were just a little bit out there. Like, there was a guy called Arthur C. Clarke, and he used to write books about phenomena like the Bermuda Triangle and people combusting and
Read all
this
that.
kind of thing. I know, crazy. But
Yeah.
I loved that. But for me, there was something about that. There was that element of mystery, but it was something that I was really fascinated in, but I didn't really understand why I was so drawn to that. Yeah, well, I liked reading about my horoscopes and looking into astrology and witches and all that kind of thing. But there was something about that real kind of like sort of very different type of writing and the paranormal stuff and the things that go bump in the night that I was really fascinated with. The darker side of this work, a lot of it. And of course, now I know why, because I've had so many experiences of very dark entities and beings and had those experiences in my life. And I was that's why I was already being shown the breadcrumb. Then I got my first set of tarot cards at 15. And then I kind of got into boys and going out and drinking and went to university, and I was always very intuitive, but I kind of didn't, I kind of started to move away from it a little bit. I was a musician though. I was trained as a musician, and a classically trained musician, and that was the gateway to my channeling that I now know. So I am a trans channel, so my guides will speak through me. And and other people's guides will speak through me, a bit like Bashar and Abraham Hicks and that kind of thing. So, but the music I was channeling when I was creating music for sure. And then I joined the police at 24, and I didn't really know at the time why I joined. I always used to say I just kind of fell into it, really. How many of us have said that? Oh, I just kind of fell into it. But that doesn't actually happen, because it was the place I was supposed to be. And I spent 25 years doing that job, and I loved it. I literally, I can hand on heart say that I loved that job. Not so much towards the end, but I'll come to that in a minute. But I wanted a job where I was serving people. I wanted a job where I was helping. I wanted a job where I was able to make a difference. I wanted a job that really felt like I was having impact. All the things that I'm here to do now and doing what I'm doing now, but I'm doing it differently. What I experienced as a police officer, I did a number of different jobs, number of different roles, got promoted to quite a senior rank before I retired. And during my career, I've experienced things that most people will never ever experience in their entire lifetime unless they do a job like that or similar type of job. And not only was I a guiding light for many people that I interacted with, whether it be people that were the wrong side of the law or people that have been victims or colleagues and peers and managing the teams that I managed, I had very many karmic cycles that I needed to clear through that job. And that job has enabled me to go through myself, like I said earlier about the inner work. Everybody wants to be able to connect in with their guides, to get that wisdom, to get that really real clarity, to to feel no doubt, for your channel not to be fuzzy. And when I say channel, I mean all your clairs, because we have a channel tube, but obviously it's all part of the same thing. Everybody wants that who's into this stuff. But in order to get to that, you have to clear out all the debris that's in your system, and you do have to go through the karmic cycles to get to that divine connection, that really deep divine connection that is absolutely pure. And it's not to say that I've got no shadow work left to do, because it's a constant evolution and new level, new devil, and there's more, there's always more to look at. But in terms of the repeating patterns and behaviors and things, like the stuff that really stops you from fully stepping into who you are and your truth, I've done that. I've worked. That's kind of, those cycles are closed now. Those loops are closed. And yeah, when I was at work, I'd sit in windowless rooms all the time in the workplace, and no one wanted to be in the room alone with me.
What? Because you brought out the
Saw everything, yeah, and I can bring it out.
Amazing.
And when I left the last department I worked in, we were, the team was a crime team, and we would most of the jobs that I've done in policing were some of the darkest work. So, child abuse, domestic abuse, murder, and paedophile, that kind of work. That, and I was always drawn to that work. And so when I work with people now and they're coming to me with, as part of the journey that we go on together, talking about the shame and the blame and the guilt they're holding, or the things that they've done, or the things that they've thought about doing, I mean, literally there is nothing that will shake me and know there's just, I've lived through that dark. I haven't just had my experiences, and so I can really, so in terms of like being super galactic, and super multidimensional, but so very grounded with who I am, and keeping people grounded as well. When I left earlier this year, you know, the people who I looked after in that department, and I've always been a people person. So I've always, for me, when it came to management and leadership, it was always about the people. It was never about the metrics, because ultimately good performance comes from people, not from data. So I was always wanting to walk the path slightly less trodden at work when it came to that. But people would say to me they'd never met a leader quite like me. And they didn't know or understand why they felt that way. But that was because what I was bringing into my work was the work that I do now. I wasn't keeping it separate. And they just didn't know that I was doing it. And, really dramatic things changed, like sickness levels dropped dramatically because it's all about frequency. People didn't want to leave the department any longer. People would say to me, I don't know what it is about you, Jo, but can you tell us how you're doing this? And my answer would be, well, no, not really. I'm just being me. So yeah, super interesting. And yeah, and when it came to finishing my career, I left because it was time for that closure. I was ready to move on. I was ready to go. The timing was perfect. It was divinely timed and obviously divinely orchestrated. And as soon as I walked away from my job, I was already super powerful and potent with the work I do, but it was a whole new level opened up for me because I'd walked straight into my next mission and my next purpose here, and my guides were literally like, right, okay, let's go. And so the amplification of what I can do now is, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you said that you were doing that, you were doing your kind of channeling within the police force as well. But then you also said earlier on you kind of felt like you kind of stepped away from it when you went to university. Was there a point in your life where you were like, oh, I'm connecting back into it, where it kind of came back consciously to you? Were you actively channeling galactic frequencies at work, or were you just being you and that's what happened?
Yeah. So it's kind of a yes and a no answer there. So when I joined the police, I started to receive more through my clairs. So they don't close down, but we just end up becoming less intentional and less aware. And the signs were becoming really, stuff was going on for me that was becoming, I just couldn't ignore it in my life and at work and all different things. And I realized that, when I was at work, I just knew things, and I was like, I would just know where missing people were, or I would just I'd know I'd know what someone was about to say to me before they'd even said it. And of course, I hadn't forgotten about my past and my childhood and where I was, but it wasn't at the forefront of how I was living my life. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. I feel like, I mean, you hear about cops that, coppers knows all the time. And yeah, police officers generally are pretty instinctive and pretty intuitive. But also that can get beaten out of them because they're stuck in process and red tape and bureaucracy and all the things. And it can get suffocated and pushed down, and then the doubt comes in, and then you're like, oh no, the gut feel. But cops do work a lot on gut feeling when it comes to things, as we all do. But in 2018 was a moment where everything changed for me in my life when it came to this work. So I was already doing the things, and I was already still doing my tarot cards. I do readings, I was still doing all of that kind of stuff. But in 2018, I had, well, what you would term as a dark night of the soul. But the way I see it really is that I was being asked to shed things about me. And I was experiencing a really difficult time at work. So, and I was not in a good place. I felt like my whole life was just caving in on me. I wanted to harm myself. I didn't really feel like my life was worth living. I was married with kids, and I was just not feeling my best. And that went on for 3 years. And I carried on working, and during that time, I had all my guides come forward like a swooping team of, we're here, we've got you, it's okay. And the crux of that moment was when I was out walking my dog, and I was literally right close to home, and I heard somebody come through in my ear through my clairaudience saying, "Hi Joe, just coming to say hi." And then they followed up with his name, and I won't say his name now, but because his I won't say his name, but I knew who it was instantly. I could see him, I saw his face in my clairvoyance, and I heard him speak to me. And I'd not spoken to this man for like years. I worked with him, but we had a great time at work together, but I'd lost touch with him. And he was still alive. And he came through, and he said, "I'm just popping in to say hi, and everything's going to be fine." I was like, okay. And that was it. I thought, this is weird. This is weird. This is weird. Go home, go about the rest of my day, go onto Facebook. And the first thing I see on Facebook is that this particular man had passed away that day. And the timing of it was when he was crossing over. So you know how some people say, well, you can't connect to spirit for X amount of time after it. Well, that's just nonsense. So it was him coming through just as he was crossing over, or had just crossed over or whatever. Insignificant really, but yeah. And it was at that moment I thought, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be using, what I can connect to. I'm supposed to be doing this. So then I started mediumship readings. I started tarot readings. I went to psychic fairs. I set up a business on the side. I did coaching. I did spiritual development coaching. Literally everything just went. And then the light language came. After I did a Reiki attunement, I had never been interested in Reiki. I was like, why am I so drawn to Reiki all of a sudden? I need to be Reiki trained. So I went and did Reiki training and became attuned at level 2. and my light language came in literally the next day and opened up that portal. I had no idea what light language was. I hadn't even heard of it. On text to my friend, I need you to listen to this. She was like a healer, and she was kind of been having her business for some time, and she came back, she goes, well, you're speaking light language. That's incredible. Like, where did that come from? And I'm like, I don't know. It's here though. And I know what it's saying. I know I can understand what it is they're telling me. I can understand what I'm saying. I know what I'm supposed to be sending it. I know like I know stuff, and how do I know this? And she was like, this is like, you need to tap more into that. So I started to tap more into that, and the more I connected into that, the more I began then to understand what galactic beings were coming through for me, because I kept collecting through my channel. They'd talk to me. They would, I'd automatic write what they were saying. They'd speak through me, and they would tell me, oh, well, this is coming from us, or this is coming from wherever. This is why it's coming through today. We need you now to use this for XYZ reason, whether it's for myself, or we now need you to get on and share this with your community on social media. And it literally, I mean, that just happened within the matter of days. Like, seriously, I mean, it was not like months and months of like cogitating and going around. It was in. And it was at that moment that I knew that there was something about my connection to the galactic dimensions and light language and codes, and my ability to be able to connect in a way that is not just about transmitting and allowing people to receive, but it's a way of actually being able to understand how potent and powerful the galactic technology is when it comes to light codes. And of course, I would say galactic, but of course Lemuria and Atlantis and ancient Egypt and Avalon, who were, part of the new Earth when we were going through bit before, they also were humans on Earth, were human beings, but also used light language a lot. But they lived side by side, like with galactic beings, both, in the physical and, having that connection. So hybrid beings, really. So yeah, it was at that point I was like, I'm not here to be a tarot reader. I'm not here to be a Reiki healer. I'm not really here to do any of that. I'm here to like do something very, very different, and actually show people that what we have access to as humans is way beyond the logical mind, but the power and the potency and the frequency that the frequencies that we can bring down that can support us as humans and help us to evolve and to grow from a personal level, through our health, literally through our healthcare systems, through like all these things, is what they share with me is absolutely mind-blowing at times. And I'm like, how am I going to get this out into the like? But they just keep showing up and doing it, and you're here, this is what you're here to do. So that's what I do.
Wow. So when you say like the things that they shared with you, some of the things they've shared with you are mind blowing. What are there like a few that kind of really stand out to you that you could share with us?
Yeah. So, well, I've got my guys, the Fleet. So the Fleet came through for me. Well, they've been with me my whole life. They've given me a load of backstory. But, because they'll tell me about when they were watching me when I was having that really difficult time in my life. And, they were there. They were the ones that were swooping in, but I didn't understand who they were because my frequency wasn't high enough. So the Fleet are a group of multi-dimensional light beings from the planet Dacon. And this planet exists outside the Milky Way galaxy from a galaxy called Cain. And this is all the information they've given me. And they are a group of beings who are my personal guides. I'm the only human being they've ever connected to. And I will be the only human being they ever connect to until I pass the mantle on to the person that's going to take over that connection. And I know who that's going to be. So But in the meantime, it's just me and them, and the things that they share with me are for me personally, and also to help the collective with understanding and activating and seeding that remembrance about what they actually have access to. There's a lot of seeding going on right now, across media, with like stuff that you read in the papers. There's a lot of seeding going on, and they're asking me to speak and message and talk about the things that they give me to speak the truth about what it is, not necessarily what is written about in the press. So yeah, and they're incredible. They're very, very high frequency. They come through. I mean, they're here now. They've been here a few times channeling through me. Especially when I'm speaking fast and don't come up for air. That's me in channel. But they they're here. They will speak through me. And they're incredible. They're just so wise and have never been to Earth. And of course, I connect in with everything. So the other week, I had a client, and her great grandmother came through, and I was able to bring her voice through for her and speak her to her. So, I will bring, like, if you were in session with me, I would bring through your guides, your galactic guides, and other guides, angelic, maybe archangel, whatever. And they would speak. I would be able to connect to their frequency and channel them through for your specific messages. But it's more than that, because it's about all frequency. So it's not just about the words, it's the frequency that sits within the words, and the frequency that is reverberating through your body as you listen to me now is not static, and it's not, I've heard it, now it's gone. The frequency and the coding that comes through me, that's emitted through the screen, and the words I say start to kind of do something with it starts to shift and like recalibrate and almost create, it's like liquid frequency that just starts to weave through your body. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I get messages from people all the time who have never actually worked with me, but they're like, I heard you speak, and I was like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, it happens a lot. So yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Have you got any
No,
other
no,
question?
no. Because I was just going to go back to the police for a minute and just ask you, Joe, like, dealing with all those criminals and low frequency stuff. Like, was that really difficult for you to be around those people, or were you like Tash here, who just sees? Well, you are, because you see into their soul, but you can see the goodness.
Yeah, I think I did find it hard at times, yeah, because it was, to start with, I was like, I'll just take my light into work, big loads of shielding and protection, bringing my team in, loads of protection, and I'd send my light out into work. I'd do, I'd do energy work and send light into the cells in the police station, and but actually having those, and to my teams as well, but actually having those physical interactions where you're on the street scrapping with people, and I didn't do quite so much of that as I got older, but certainly, when I was doing that kind of work actually on the front line, or going to crime scenes where there's been murders, or someone's serious, or going to dealing with people that have lost their loved ones or whatever. Yeah, it was hard. I had to be very intentional about my own hygiene, my own spiritual hygiene. And I wouldn't say I ever gave it that conscious thought that, well, they are actually good people. The way I saw it was that no one is inherently bad and wrong, even when they've committed the most heinous crime. And that's really hard for people to get their head around.
Yeah.
It's they I might split your audience here.
No,
They
good. We're up for that.
they chose that path for themselves. It was always meant to be that way. And I think the thing that helped me cope with the trauma that I experienced when I was a cop, because it was trauma for sure, and it's a layering effect of trauma and traumatic events and like really dark stuff, which I won't go into now, but the way I overcome and allowed myself to compartmentalize all of that and to not allow that to make my frequency dip when I'm doing my own light work, when I'm doing my work outside of policing, was to know that actually it was always meant to be that way. So, like, when a child has died, for example, which obviously is probably one of the worst jobs you can really deal with, they were never meant, their sole contract in this lifetime was to be here for that period of time that they were here. And there's a lot of peace that can be gained from that. Obviously, they're not things I talk to the families about because that's not the right thing to say. But when you understand, many people have a fear of death, but when you understand that when we sat there and said, right, this, we get presented with the document and we read through it. I mean, obviously, it's an analogy. We're reading through the document and it says, right, when you get to this age, you're going to experience this. When you get here, this is what's going to happen. And then this is going to happen. And then that, and then that, and then that. And you look down the list and say, yeah, okay, I'll have all that. Thanks very much. And then you appear here. And then you're having these really horrible experiences and you're like, why on earth did I choose to have this happen in my life right now? It could be anything from, absolutely anything. So I think really for me, it was understanding that everything, and I know it can be it sounds trite, doesn't it? Everything happens for a reason. And that's not, I don't mean that to sound trite, but it doesn't happen for a reason. It happens because it was chosen. And understanding that aspect of how it's not even how life works, how source works, it can bring a lot of peace and can release a lot of anger and resentment and blame and shame and all that stuff that we hold in our root chakra, because that's always how it was meant to be. And then you take the gold and the magic from it from the other side, obviously not from the situation I'm talking about there, but other situations. And so I think that it came to a point when I found it hard to it wasn't so much about finding it hard to work in such a dense environment. It was more about I just couldn't not do what I do now full time. It was like I just knew that it was done. It was a closing time. I'd done all the things. Like when I was having my real bad time back in 2018, I nearly left policing, and in fact I actually moved police force. I went from one to another once I got well, and it was at that point I'm like, why are you moving? Why aren't you just leaving? But I knew that my work wasn't done. You know how a lot of people have a dark night of the soul and they're like, right, that's it. I'm leaving this job. I'm not staying with this person anymore. I'm burning it all to the ground. I'm literally just chucking it all up because they're like, I don't know who the hell I am anymore. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm burning it all to the ground. And for some that works. But for me, I knew that I hadn't finished the task that I was asked to come here to complete. And when I look back now on those years where I was going through those situations and having those experiences and moving to particular jobs and then moving everything, I look back now and I think that's why I had to stay. I had to do that first. I had to have that experience first. I had to do this, that, and the next. And now I've done all that. So it's all orchestrated. I just knew. I didn't know why. Everyone's going to me, why don't you just leave? Just leave, like get out now. And I was like, I can't. I just can't. Yeah, super interesting, isn't it?
Really is.
So I'm then curious, before we wrap it up, about the work that you're doing now. Like, who's your person that comes to see you? What are they looking for when they come to see you? And then what do you do? So say if I was going to come and see you, what would you then do with me? How would you work with me
Yeah, of
and
course.
do what you do?
Yeah. So in the main, I work with women. I am open to working with men, but I get a lot of women attracted to me. Most of them are business women. Most of them are entrepreneurs, or they're thinking about moving into that space. But they don't have to be business women, because we can't all be spiritual entrepreneurs. We actually do need people doing real jobs.
Yeah.
And I say that with a joke, really, but I mean, we need people working in services, and we need people to be in marketing and all the things. So it can't all just be healers. So they're spiritually aware. They're not new to this work. So they've already got their gifts online. They're already, like, their clairs are online. They're going to be channeling to a degree. A lot of them have already got their light language coming through. But they don't know what they're supposed to do with it, where it's coming from. Like, oh, this is just lovely, but what am I supposed to do with it? We're not supposed to just receive and, like, not do anything with it. So they've done a ton of they've already done a lot of shadow work. They've already like, they haven't been bypassing themselves. They can see, they're like, oh, here we go again. I'm procrastinating. I'm putting this off because I know that if I do this, it's going to move the needle. So I'd really rather go over here and do this because it's less uncomfortable. They're aware. They're aware. But they know that they're on the edge of something more. There's something within them that, they're really visionary. They're here. They're not here to walk the path well trodden like everybody else does it. They know they're here to do something a little bit different and do it in a way that's almost they're pioneering through whatever it is that they're doing. And they know that there is something that they can't quite reach yet, whether they're circling, some kind of gift or ability that they can't quite access, and it just feels a bit fuzzy. They could feel like their energy's really off, so they're crashing and burning. They're peaking and then they're troughing. They just aren't feeling like they don't feel really calm and peaceful, even when they're up against sort of something that might feel quite chaotic. They're still feeling a little bit like they're not really stable in their bodies. So they're getting all the activations and doing all the things, and then their body's not catching up with them. Their physical body's not keeping up with all of the very lovely high vibrational activation stuff. But and believe you me, it's lovely being up there, but we've got to be here, human, and our physical bodies have to come with us. And that's where the manifestation happens. That's where the creativity happens. That's where the vision that you have becomes a reality. So, whether people come to me and work one-to-one, or whether you come to me and say, Joe, I want you to I want you to create me a piece of artwork, or whether it's coming to work with me and coming into my mastermind where, we do the shadow work mastery and the channeling and the light language mastery. All of these people that step into my world know they're here for impacts. They know they're here to be more than just a healer, more than just a tarot reader, more than just a whatever. And that's not putting any of that down, because it's all really, that's, incredible. I've done all that. But they know there's something else. But they're looping, they've done the shadow work, but that pattern's still coming up. Like when you have that, I've done all the money work. I know what my money blocks are. I know that, I've got this fear of X, Y, Z, and I know, and unconsciously you know it, and you're saying your mantras and you're doing all the things, but your subconscious hasn't caught up, and your superconscious most definitely hasn't. And so, they're switched on. They know what they're doing, but they just it's that when you come and work with me, it's fast. It's super fast, because what I'm working with and how I work, we're not messing around. It's, I cut through the BS, obviously, but do it in a loving way, of course. Get you to your highest, get you to what is for your highest, and allow you to reveal the magic that you've got to share with the world in a way that feels safe. Being more visible, getting out there, speaking your truth, stop watering it down, stop fluffing the edges. Like, I am the Galactic channel. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. But, it's time now. It's time for people to really own and claim what they're here to do. And because we all know, but there will be fear that sits underneath it. And so we unravel all of that. And, some people come to me with physical stuff. I mean, a lady had physical pain her entire life, and one session with me and it was just gone. Because that's the level of frequency I work with.
And that's amazing. I feel a bit called out. But
You feel called out?
yeah. It's like, are you talking to me?
Yeah, totally.
But and so how you do it, because I'm just like really curious, because we speak to so many people, don't we, who we're all doing the same thing in our different ways, and obviously at different frequencies as well. The more that I see this, we're all doing it in different ways, in different frequencies, and that's necessary, isn't it? Because we're all humanity is at different levels, what you're doing isn't going to work for someone who's like obviously not ready to hear that, receive that, be on the same frequency as you. So I'm just always interested to see how each one of you are actually in practice doing that. And so with you, because when you're doing this work with people to help them, you see through them, right? So I'm assuming you said you can see into people's organs and cells and stuff. So are you literally working on, you are just looking at their energy field, you're looking at their physical body, and then how do you make the change? Because so for example, with me, I work with the subconscious mind. I do hypnosis, past life regression, these kind of things, and so I know practically how I'll use hypnosis. I'll help them access their subconscious mind. We do regression, we do inner child work, that kind of thing. That's how I help people at the moment. How are you helping? How are you doing that same thing?
Yeah, and I will say that when people come into my world to, because of light language, whether it's they want their light language activated or it's coming through and they want a bit of support with that, it's not about saying, right, you've got to ditch everything else and this is the route you go down, because this is about blending and about understanding that actually it's possible to, there's so much available that are gifts that are not even talked about in terms of your very specific. We've all got very specific gifts. We become trained in things, but that's not necessarily your soul gift.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally. Yeah.
So I use my hands, so we've got the chakras in the palms, haven't we? So I psychically scan you and I can see. But my guides will come in very quickly. So it's like a triangle of work, really. It's me, you, and the guy and the team. But it would be my team and yours, because your guides know most about you. My guides can tell me an awful lot, but it's your ones that speak to me in terms of what it is that you need to know for your highest. So, but my guides help me with the sort of the more practical aspects. So looking at your physical body. So right from within, your bones, your cells, your fascia, your blood, your veins, all of that, all your organs. And then we move into the energy bodies. So then it's your chakra system. And then we're coming out a bit further into your auric field, coming through those 7 layers of your field. And then we're going out into the quantum, what is actually happening in your oversoul, what is happening in all those multiple time, space, dimension and realities that you've existed on. Where is that? What's playing out up, I would say up there, because it is up there. It's like this spiral, but it's like what's playing out up there that's coming down here now. And what aspect of that is not serving your highest, and what aspect of that will serve your highest, and we need to pull it through so you actually connect to it fully. And so the sort of like the psychic surgery, like the galactic medical kind of work that I do is done through energy work, it's done through frequency, it's done through light language, it's done through literally going in and pulling it out, and then making sure that whatever's been there that doesn't serve you, whether it's a blockage or whether it's a physical frequency or a physical thing like an entity attachment, for example, whatever it is, wherever it is in the body and what it's connecting to, because everything's connected, nothing's separate, is it? So I'll take it out, and once it's out, it's then necessary to repair, but also to recode. So what's happening is that the repair happens, but it's the recoding that comes through the light codes and the light language that actually starts to change the frequency of your body, starts to activate that dormant DNA strands that we're here to crystallize, to start releasing the density from your body, so you don't become susceptible to, again, it's like a permanent shift. It's like, well, it's done. That's not that's just gone now. And then the actual guidance will come through, whatever needs to come through from that. And then always, like after a session, I will always place people in what I call an energy immersion. I always equate, like, as an analogy, it's a bit like, a snow globe, like shaking it around, and it's all kind of doing this. Like, you won't leave a session feeling completely like blasted and wonder what the hell's gone on. You probably will leave the session and need a nap. But that's because of the frequency I work at. And then, so the energy immersion is when I'm working in the astral and your light body's held in a pod. And during that time, you will just feel inordinate sense of peace. It will be delicious. It will just be like this calmness. It's like, you will know that there's things happening for you. You will feel shifts in your body, because that's who I work with. You already feel the stuff. You're already connected to your body. And within that time, my guides are holding the pot, your guides are coming in, and there's like programming that comes out of me having connected to your oversoul and psychically picked up on what it is that you need to know. So the pod becomes programmed with it, whether there's any, don't really talk about cutting cords, but it's like a resolution to some of it. Because we're not actually, the stuff that sits in our oversoul, we're not saying, I don't want it, it needs to go. We're just observing and witnessing, understanding how it's impacting, and then dealing with that, rather than actually we're not cutting it away, because we can't. That's a part of us. It's a part of our soul. There might be I do soul retrieval. There might be fragmented aspects of your soul that need to come back to you that you've left in other lifetimes, and other timelines and places that you've been. So yeah, does that.
Yes, it does. No, thank you. That's really clear. Just has a good insight. It's just I always just want to know the details when people talk about. I'm like, yeah, but how do you actually do it? So thank you. Yes, you did answer that question perfectly. Jo, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It's been a delight. It's been a delight to chat to you today. I think the only thing I want to say before we close is that my eyes prick with tears when I think about what I do and the impact I have and the difference I make to people. And I just can't not do it. And so listening to this, when was the last time you just said to yourself, I just can't not do this? And if you don't say that about what you're currently doing right now, and there's something, you say it, but it just feels like there's like this little empty voidy space that I can't not do it, but then have a think about that, because when you feel so convicted and so embodied in who you are and what you're being, you just can't not do it. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Oh, thank you so much, Jo.
Thank you,
Thank
Jo.
you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Right, well, guys, that's it for another episode, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Care.
Bye.
Bye bye.